Natalie, filled with frustration, shot up from her seat and knocked over her untouched bowl of noodles.
I can't take this anymore, Ethan. I need more than this. I need luxury. I need gifts and lavish dinners. Your love isn't enough for me. I want to break up, she snapped coldly.
Without offering any further explanation, she walked away, leaving Ethan sitting there, silently reflecting on what had just happened. He didn't react, didn't speak, just sat still, watching her silhouette disappear beyond the restaurant's door. The small vegetarian eatery seemed to fall into complete stillness, as if mirroring the quiet ache inside him. Sadness, but without regret. Ethan, a successful man, CEO of the Harrow Group, a major corporation with international-scale projects, lived a life filled with meetings, business trips, and constant activity. Yet, despite it all, he always searched for those rare, quiet moments of peace, moments to escape the noise of the outside world and find serenity in stillness. One of his favorite places to unwind was this humble vegetarian noodle shop tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. It wasn't luxurious, there were no fancy dishes or extravagant decor, but it offered Ethan a tranquility he couldn't find anywhere else. One late afternoon, Ethan decided to bring his girlfriend, Natalie, here. They had been seeing each other for a while, and Ethan felt their relationship was beginning to deepen. He hoped Natalie would understand and perhaps even share in his appreciation for simplicity. What he didn't expect was for it to become an unforeseen challenge. The restaurant sat peacefully beside a small side street, with only a few simple wooden tables near the windows. The scent of fresh vegetables and light spices filled the air, creating a calm and soothing atmosphere. Ethan led Natalie inside, but from the moment she stepped through the door, the disappointment in her eyes was impossible to hide. She glanced around, clearly unimpressed by the modest surroundings, so different from the upscale places she usually frequented. "This is the place you chose, Ethan?" Natalie asked, her tone tinged with irritation. "I thought you'd take me somewhere else. This is just too plain." Ethan offered a gentle smile, unaffected by her disapproval. "You'll get used to it. This place has a special energy. It's not just about the food, it's about the way people here live and experience life." Natalie sat down, still wearing an expression of discontent. "Don't you think this is all a bit dull? No gifts, no flowers, just a simple meal like this? How am I supposed to feel special when you never show your affection in a meaningful way?" Ethan remained silent for a moment, sensing the irritation in her voice, but he kept calm, never showing annoyance. He rested his hand on the table and looked her straight in the eye. "Natalie, I don't believe love has to be about material things. Love is about understanding and caring for one another. I don't need to take you to luxurious places or give you expensive gifts to prove I love you." Natalie furrowed her brow, unable to believe what she was hearing. "Ethan, don't you get it? Sometimes women need clear signs. We need gifts, fancy dinners. You always insist love should be simple, but I can't live like that. You're not romantic enough, not attentive enough, and I can't keep living this way." Ethan looked into her eyes, a flicker of disappointment passing through his gaze. But instead of arguing, he simply sighed and resumed eating his bowl of noodles in silence. Natalie had no idea Ethan was the chairman of a powerful corporation like the Harrow Group. What she wanted wasn't sincere love. It was a wealthy man who could spoil her with expensive gifts and take her to high-end restaurants. She needed those things to feel special and valued, not the warmth and simplicity Ethan was offering. Unable to tolerate any more, Natalie angrily stood up and knocked over her untouched bowl of noodles. "I can't take this anymore, Ethan," she repeated, her voice thick with anger. "I need more than this. I need luxury. I need gifts and lavish dinners. Your love isn't enough for me. I want to break up." She didn't bother to explain further. She simply turned and walked out, leaving Ethan sitting there in the quiet stillness of the restaurant. Her words echoed in his mind, but instead of reacting, he simply watched her figure fade beyond the doorway in silence. Maya quietly witnessed the entire scene, her heart tightening as she saw the clear sorrow etched on Ethan's face. A wave of pain rose within her, but she didn't know what to do except sit there silently, feeling the loneliness that he could no longer hide. Maya was the owner of the vegetarian noodle shop, a gentle, beautiful young woman with a kind heart. Yet she had never dared to confess her feelings for Ethan. She had long recognized the simplicity and sincerity in his way of life, and that resonance made her feel connected to him, as if there were an invisible thread linking their souls. She had seen Ethan come to the shop many times with different women, but each time they never stayed long. His simple lifestyle didn't seem enough to keep them around, but for Maya, it was exactly what made her admire him even more. Today, as she saw Ethan sitting alone, quietly eating his bowl of noodles in the stillness of the shop, she couldn't bring herself to look away. Even if it was just a few comforting words, she felt she might be able to ease some of his sadness. She walked gently over to him and sat down beside him, speaking softly. "Are you okay, Ethan?" Her voice was gentle, as though she was afraid to disturb him, but it carried genuine concern and warmth. Ethan looked up, his eyes weary, but still holding a trace of tenderness. "Thank you, Maya." To hear the quiet loneliness behind every word he said. She stayed silent for a moment, then spoke gently. "Do you know why I chose to open a vegetarian noodle shop? Being vegetarian isn't just about food. It's also a way for the body to rest and heal. Sometimes it's not about what we eat or where we eat. It's about who we eat with." She looked at him, her eyes reflecting a quiet longing to share, to be understood, an invitation for connection. Ethan smiled, and the warmth in his eyes became more apparent as he looked at her. "You're right. Maybe I've forgotten that," he said softly, as if her words had helped him recover a small sense of peace in his unsettled heart. Maya smiled, nodding gently. "Life has a way of making us forget the simplest things, even though they're the most precious. What we really need are moments of calm, so we can truly feel and appreciate what we already have." She pushed the bowl of noodles a little closer to him, an invitation not only to eat, but also to share, to open up the stories neither of them had yet told. Ethan looked at the bowl, then lifted his gaze to Maya. The warmth in her words had eased some of the weight in his chest. "Thank you," he said, his voice much softer now, as though her presence alone had quieted the ache within him. Maya remained by his side, quietly watching him eat in the tranquil atmosphere. They didn't need to speak much, because in that silence, Maya realized something deeply true. Sometimes love doesn't need grand gestures or poetic words. Sometimes it's simply presence, attentive silence, and shared moments that create the deepest bonds. She looked at Ethan and saw the pain still lingering in his eyes, but also a strength, a quiet resilience he might not even realize he had. She hoped that one day he would see the love she had been quietly holding for him all along, that perhaps, in the end, it is simplicity and sincerity that matter most in love. After breaking up with Ethan, Natalie quickly turned her attention to Samuel, the CEO of a subsidiary company partnered with Harrow Group, where Ethan was the head. Samuel was a handsome man with a solid career and a lifestyle that, in Natalie's eyes, made him the ideal man, someone who could provide her with everything she desired, from material satisfaction to the luxurious life she had always dreamed of. After just a few conversations, Natalie realized that Samuel was the kind of man who could give her expensive gifts, lavish dinners, and all the things she looked for in a partner. She no longer cared about love or sincerity. What mattered most to her now was wealth and an extravagant lifestyle. Samuel, seeing through Natalie's superficiality, left her behind and returned his focus to work. He began discussing the contract with Ethan, completely invested in the business partnership between their companies. This was a valuable opportunity that Samuel took very seriously, and he hoped to use it to develop both a professional and personal relationship. He invited Natalie to join him for the meeting. Wanting to make a strong impression, Natalie decided to arrive early and prepare for the encounter. She didn't hesitate to meet the chairman of Harrow Group ahead of Samuel, thinking she might use the chance to assert control over the meeting. When Ethan walked into the restaurant, he was surprised to see Natalie already there. She couldn't hide the scorn in her eyes. Her gaze swept over him from head to toe before she spoke in a cold voice. "Oh, it's you," Natalie said with a sarcastic smile. "Looking for a quiet place to enjoy another one of your humble meals, I suppose?" Ethan sat down, doing his best to remain composed, despite the irritation stirring inside him. "Natalie," he replied gently, "I don't believe life is all about glamour. Sometimes what truly matters is finding peace in the simple things." Natalie let out a slight laugh, her eyes still brimming with contempt. "Still clinging to those cliches? Life is about getting what you deserve, isn't it? And all you could ever give me were meals like this?" she mocked. "I need more than that." As they were speaking, Samuel entered. Both of them fell silent as he approached, smiling warmly. He extended his hand to Ethan without hesitation. "It's a pleasure to meet you, the chairman of Harrow Group," Samuel said, his tone filled with respect. Natalie froze. The sarcasm in her expression vanished, replaced by wide-eyed surprise. She looked at Samuel, then back at Ethan, visibly shaken. "What?" she whispered, unable to believe what she had just heard. Ethan, used to situations like this, simply offered a calm smile. "Yes, I'm the chairman of Harrow Group," he said, without a trace of arrogance. "Samuel, this is Natalie, an old girlfriend of mine," he added, his eyes glinting with quiet meaning. Samuel was caught off guard by Ethan's words. He hadn't realized Ethan was the same ex-boyfriend Natalie had once mocked and criticized in conversation. The three of them stood in silence, no one saying another word. "It's fine, Samuel. Let's get to discussing the contract," Ethan continued, brushing past the awkwardness of the moment. Natalie sat still, her emotions a mix of shock and confusion, but her eyes couldn't hide the regret. She had always thought Ethan was just an ordinary man, someone with nothing to offer but quiet stories and modest meals. He hadn't seemed like someone worth holding on to. But now, seeing him as the head of a powerful corporation like Harrow Group, she couldn't help but feel foolish for ending the relationship over material things. Samuel, though unaware of Natalie's true character, didn't hesitate to pursue the relationship. In the coming days, Samuel's company was scheduled to sign an important contract with Harrow Group. As for Natalie, although clearly embarrassed, she said nothing. A deep sense of shame washed over her as she realized how badly she had misjudged Ethan, just because he didn't fit the image of luxury she once idolized. After that meeting, when Samuel realized Natalie's true nature, he couldn't help but feel disappointed and regretful. What he had once mistaken for charm and glamour turned out to be nothing more than a facade, one that masked a deep emptiness inside her. Despite her beauty and outward appeal, Samuel knew those things couldn't make up for her lack of sincerity in matters of the heart. He spent a long time reflecting on their relationship, and after a sleepless night of thinking, he made his decision. He would end it. She wasn't someone he could envision building a future with. The next day, Samuel called Natalie and asked to meet. He knew the conversation wouldn't be easy, but he couldn't continue a relationship that he already knew would lead nowhere. When they sat down together, Samuel looked her in the eye, trying to remain composed. "Natalie," Samuel began, his voice steady but calm. "I've thought a lot about this relationship, and I've come to the conclusion that we're not right for each other. What I'm looking for in a relationship isn't something you're able to offer." Natalie was stunned. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had believed Samuel would be the one to give her the luxurious life she had always dreamed of. And now he was rejecting her for the very things she had built her desires around. "What are you saying?" Natalie asked, her voice laced with confusion and pain. "All I ever wanted was a good life. There's nothing wrong with wanting comfort in the things I deserve. Is there?" The sting of rejection hit her like a wave. She tried to stay composed, but her pained expression betrayed her disappointment. Samuel's words echoed in her mind, and slowly she began to realize that she had made a mistake, choosing to walk away from Ethan's sincere love in pursuit of superficial luxury. A deep emptiness settled in Natalie's heart. She realized that she had lost something truly valuable by placing too much importance on appearances and material things, believing they could make her life perfect. The real values Ethan had offered, genuine love, care, and emotional connection, were the very things she had failed to appreciate. Samuel stood up, not sparing her another glance. "I hope you find what you're looking for," he said, his voice cool but tinged with quiet regret. "Thank you for understanding my decision." As Samuel walked away, Natalie sat alone in silence, a quiet pain sinking into her chest. She realized she had let go of a precious opportunity, and that there was no going back to fix the mistakes she had already made. As for Ethan, after burying himself in work for days, he once again found himself surrounded by loneliness and emptiness. The dates and matchmaking meetings had grown tiresome and meaningless, and still, he couldn't shake the feeling that something truly valuable was missing from his life. To find peace, he returned to the one place where he felt at ease: Maya's noodle shop, where he could always leave his worries behind and rediscover a sliver of serenity amid life's chaos. Maya, with her simple yet heartfelt meals, had always offered him the quiet that the world never could. That afternoon, as he stepped into the shop, the atmosphere was just as he remembered, calm and comforting. Behind the counter, Maya saw him walk in with a somber expression, as if he were searching for something he could only find here. Ethan took his usual seat, the one he had sat at countless times before. Maya, as always, brought him a bowl of noodles. But this time, instead of just one bowl, she brought two, and sat down with him. She didn't say a word, simply placing the second bowl in front of her and the first in front of him. Ethan looked at her in surprise, sensing a subtle shift in the air, but he didn't ask. All he felt was a quiet warmth rising in his chest, as if Maya's simple gesture alone was enough to soften the weight he carried. "Why two bowls, Maya?" "I came alone today," he asked, his voice low and slightly puzzled. Maya smiled gently, her eyes soft as they met his, like a quiet invitation to share. "Would you mind if I joined you, Ethan?" They ate in silence, no hurried words, just the soft clinking of spoons against ceramic, and the sound of two souls simply being present. And in that stillness, Maya slowly opened up, deciding to speak the words she had long held inside. "Ethan," she began, her voice gentle yet resolute. "I've loved you for a long time, but I was always afraid my feelings would never be returned. It always felt like you were living in a world of your own, a space I couldn't enter, and I was just an outsider." Ethan looked up, unable to hide his surprise. He had never imagined that Maya, gentle, humble Maya, held such deep feelings. He didn't interrupt. He just listened, with curiosity and quiet respect. Maya offered a soft smile, her gaze even more tender as it met his. "Every time you came here and sat alone, I saw your loneliness. But it wasn't the kind of loneliness that comes from isolation. It was the kind that comes from searching for something real, something honest. And I thought maybe I could be the one to help you find it, if you'd let me." Ethan didn't respond immediately. He looked at the bowl of noodles in front of him, then back at Maya. This woman, with all her quiet kindness and sincerity, was the only one who didn't seek wealth or status. She simply wanted to offer him peace, and in that moment, Ethan realized that Maya was the one who truly understood him, the one with whom he could find both tranquility and happiness. A wave of warmth spread through him. He exhaled deeply, as if a burden had been lifted. He smiled at her, not needing to say much more. "You're right. Maybe I've been chasing the wrong things all along. The glamour, the material things. They never made me feel truly happy. You're the only one who brings me peace." Maya said nothing, but her eyes lit up as if she had finally heard the answer she had waited for all along. She gently pushed the bowl of noodles closer to him, a quiet invitation to keep eating, but also to share, to open up the emotions still unspoken between them. Ethan smiled and began to eat, feeling, for the first time, that this was exactly where he wanted to be, with someone who understood and accepted him for who he truly was. They didn't need to say much. Their presence was enough. And in that silence, Ethan felt he had finally found the peace he'd been searching for. Not in extravagance or display, but in the simple, honest things he had long overlooked. Ethan and Maya continued to sit together, enjoying their vegetarian noodles and sharing stories about life. In that moment, Ethan realized that true love doesn't come from the dazzling things on the outside, but from the simplicity and sincerity that Maya showed him. Maya repeated the words she had told him before. "It's not about what we eat, where we eat, but who we eat with." Ethan smiled, understanding that these were the meaningful words he had been searching for all along. They looked at each other, a gentle, happy smile spreading across their faces, and they knew that from this moment on, their lives would be filled with joy and true love.